Back. And we are back. We are back. Back. Sorry about that. YouTube was doing a weird thing. And then when I tried to I stopped doing the YouTube on the portrait thing because it was like fucking a thing up. And then I tried to restart it on the other. It's just it like created an event and then I wasn't able to go back into the event. It's a whole dumb thing that's not interesting. But we are back. What was I talking about? Let me retitle this. I hope everyone had a wonderful 420. But yes, we're back. So now I was talking about like as a gentleman who as a strapping young man, I love to be there's nothing more in this world Andy loves than to be informed. Like just like I live my life wanting to walk up to every group going, "What are you guys talking about?" You know what I mean? Like I'm not good at not being in the loop. I'm not good at I'm not good at not I'm not good at not being in the loop. I'm just a little kid going, "What are you guys talking about? What are you guys talking about?" It's just me all the fucking time. So like we back. We are back, boys. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for everyone's patience. It's very much appreciated from the big red man here. Salrad second. You can say first. I won't tell anyone. Don't tell Dunbar. But boom, 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 boom. Clicking on things, big red doing stuff, figuring all this shit out, changing the world. The only Twitch stream that had to give you guys a Frieza because I could not stop saying the other word. I don't know who else is throwing that down. I'm the only one. I'm the only big red one doing shit like that, guys. Can't stop saying the word, so I give you guys a Frieza. By the way, Derek, I'm looking over here. 9 days ago, you gave me 200 bits. That's much appreciated, brother. Thank you very much. Still people following me on the Twitch, even though I don't really advertise that much. Maybe I should. I don't know. I am going to be a hardcore gamer again. I am going to get back into hardcore gaming. But yeah, no, like that's like my thing with like the sort of where I am with politics. Like I just would like when people start talking about like the Strait of Hormuz, I just would like to be able to go like, oh yeah, isn't that this and that? But it's just a real shame, man, with like how much power and shit surrounds all that crap. There's so much incentive for like it's just like an unbelievable incentive for everyone to lie about all that stuff. So it's hard to it's like it's real because that was like my thing. I was always like, I feel like it's important to be informed and political or whatever the fuck. It's like it's not even like to me, it's not even about like politics. It's just about like, you'd be aware of what's going on in your neighborhood. You know what I mean? The same way you'd be just aware of important shit that's going on. But the problem is like all that shit correlates to, different layers of shit going on that you don't know about that they're always lying about. And it's like the deeper I get into that, the actual real research you have to do to get the actual story is like insane. And then even then you get to that point, you're actually technically not getting the actual story. That's why I get way more enjoyment out of dude, like I don't know whatever you want to call it, like researching, going down the rabbit hole of like, well, speaking of going down the rabbit hole, that was the thing about conspiracies for the longest time. They were fucking very fun. And then you start like conspiracies are super fucking fun when you get into them. And then you start realizing a lot of them are way more true than you thought. And then that's when they're not that fun. But then it's still fascinating, but then it goes from like, oh, this is silly stuff to like, oh, that's scary. Um, Politics is gayer than basketball. What's wrong with basketball? Basketball's fun. Just strong black men just moving their bodies, dude. Oh, that was the other thing where I was like, dude, I always forget how fucking hooked on basketball Nate is. Because when we were at the creek last night, dude, like it was raining, so everyone's kind of there's this at the back of the creek, there's this big area with no cover, and then there's this like stage that they don't really do stuff with because like the out back of the creek is kind of like the hang. So like if they put on shows in the back, you're kind of like ruining the hang and stuff. So they don't. So you like the stage is just there's couches and stuff on the stage. People just use that stage to sit. But we were all bundled up in the same area because it was raining and they don't have a shitload of cover for the creek. And I'm standing there talking to my buddy Pat about music and other shit, and I keep listening, and it's like Nate is just talking to anyone who will listen, just still about because he had well he said he didn't want to say his take publicly because he's like people will just get super fucking annoying, but he was saying that there's like he was basically he just I'll keep it vague. He just had a real hot basketball take. And dude, I'm telling you, for like an hour or two, every time I'd like go, what are they? Oh, they're still talking about top five, blah blah blahs and shit like that. It's I was like, dude, that dude can talk about basketball for fucking ever. And it's why what I was saying earlier, that motherfucker needs to get a basketball podcast so I can listen to it. Because I think it would be interesting. But you know, as we've learned, sometimes when you try to make a podcast out of everything you've ever liked, it doesn't always kind of ruins it. But honestly, though, well, that's what I've been finding more joy in video games is because I've been like, I mean, I've talked about this a bunch on here, but like I've been spending a lot more time. I've been spending a lot more time just like being like, well, wait, what makes what's the shit you like to do that like is very enjoyable for you? And like I realized I was talking about it a bunch on the Big Red Rips that comes out today, where like I remember when I was down here when I first came down here in Austin, and then I was like, I should probably start door dashing so my savings doesn't get as depleted as quickly. And then all that door dashing ruined my car, and that really depleted my savings. Actually, it didn't really deplete my savings. It just put a bunch of money on my credit card. But no, I was like doing DoorDash, and I had this like weird moment where I was like, you know, outside of the fact that like DoorDash is a thing to do for like 2 or 3 hours after work or on the weekend when it's busy to make a little extra money. Or you're like a Mexican guy who like your car is a sack of shit and you have like 20 roommates. And I say this as not shitting on Mexican people, but just kind of like shorthand to be funny. But no, there's like mad dudes who do it who, well, I have a theory because you'll see these dudes who like they can't speak a lick of English and they're door dashing and they have a really nice car. And I got to imagine, I don't think it's like on Front Street or anything. I don't think there's like a phone number you can call. But I think like when it comes to a lot of people who are like in this country illegally trying to find work, which no shade on them, dude. If you're like in this country and you're like door dashing, you're like, no, you're trying to make if you're a hardworking motherfucker, fast track that citizenship, brother. Get them legal. But also maybe get them in some English classes. No. No. I mean it is. You're in America. Why would you not want to learn our language? Seems odd. You almost go out of your way to not learn it. But no, I have strong love for the Mexican people. We all know this. I think I'm very culturally Mexican. I identify a lot with the Mexican people. But no, I think because I think there's sort of like these black, and that I hate the term black markets because it gives it such a like nasty, it gives it a much more negative connotation. But it's just like, yeah, there's people in this country illegally that need certain services, and it needs to be off the books. So I think I wish I was Mexican. I do too sometimes, Cellrat. I do too sometimes. Nah, man, I fuck with Mexican people. A lot of them work hard. A lot of them are family oriented, and a lot of them are like vaguely religious, which I think is like an important thing to keep a country strong is to have everyone be kind of like just to have all the normies be vaguely religious so they kind of like keep their shit together. I think that's nice. I want to high vis and drink Modelo all the time. Yeah, man. You just feel better in a high vis sometimes. But no, I think my theory, because I notice it with Ubers all the time, especially too working that like valet job. I notice it with Ubers all the time. Like you'll be chilling and you'll just see this you'll see this dude who like can't speak English, not dressed that nice, and he's rolling up in like a big ass like Range Rover Wagoneer or some shit like that. And you're just like, there's gotta be some company that has all these cars that goes, the same way that I think it's like how barbershops and like strip clubs work. Like strip clubs, you're not like you don't get like an hourly rate. You actually basically like you show up, strip, and I think they just take their cut. And it's the same thing with a barbershop. I don't think you get like an hourly rate at a barbershop. I think you basically like rent the chair out for the day or something like that. And I think these services are like that, where they have these services where they have like these just nice cars to do Uber or DoorDash in, and you go, and then you basically at the end of your shift, you let them know how much you earned, and then you just give them a cut. Cause like, and then it's like, because these people are off the books, they don't have to pay taxes. They're probably like living with a couple people. So, they can afford that way. That's my theory on the situation. But what's been your favorite car to drive while doing valet? Honestly, it's so there's actually like three cars that have been noticeably fun to drive. Um Minivans are oddly fun to drive. They're like very, very fun to drive. It's very odd. I was not expecting it. They're not very visually enticing, but getting into a minivan, they're actually like the way that they handle and stuff, very fun to drive. Um uh Wait, what are you responding to? Oh, I was like, what? You can do this anyway, but you're responding to him talking about high vis and Modelo's. Yeah, dude, minivans. I might just get one at some point when I have like, if I ever have like multiple car money, because I think my preferred car for practicality's sake is like a mid-range SUV. An SUV that you can still get pretty good gas mileage on, but like if you need to go get shit, you can drop the seats down and put the shit in the back. Or not even drop the seats down. Well, yeah, I guess drop the seats down because I'm thinking about it. Like with my car, my wife's car, say if we like bought a new TV or something, you'd have to drop those seats down. But yeah, there's something like the handling of minivans are sick. Another car that I've come to actually another type of car I've come to actually admire in the doing the valet shit is electric cars. Now, set aside the whole, like I don't think electric cars are as ethically sound as the purchasers would like them to be, because it's like the stuff with the batteries. And I want to say like by the time your car becomes carbon neutral, I don't think the electric cars have as long as a like as long of a lifespan as like other cars and shit. I don't know. I think where it's at is hybrid. I think hybrid's where it's at. Nate's got the hybrid. He says it fucking he can go on like a tank of gas for like a week. Now, that motherfucker don't drive too many places besides I think he just drives downtown. He just drives to downtown and the grocery store and like that guy lives like Well, if there's no traffic, he lives 10 minutes away, but he doesn't live that far. But still, he he's got the hybrid where it like the gas doesn't kick in until you start going a certain speed on the highway. The gas doesn't kick in until you hit a certain speed on the highway. So he can hit a good stretch without filling that bitch back up. But I never posted in that Discord. I'm gonna go do that real quick actually. But yeah, the from a driving standpoint, the electric cars are actually really nice. I know some of the dudes I work with, they like cream themselves over like the really loud cars. And like I'm not gonna take that away from anyone. Like what you like. I just the super fucking loud cars, they don't really do it for me. They're honestly like more annoying than anything because I like a smooth ride and a nice sound system. And in a lot of those electric cars, they're very smooth. They're very smooth. So the electric cars are like way better than I thought they were going to be. I actually got to give it up to Teslas. Not to say that I still don't think. Can you guys hear my fucking ass rumbling? Um, I think not to say like I definitely think Elon Musk is a fucking he's still like a fucking mo with his shit. He annoys me. But shit. That's not the fucking link I wanted to post. It's not the fucking link I wanted to post. God damn it. God damn it. Now the Teslas are funny. They're cool. They're cooler than I thought they're cooler than I thought I like them more than I thought I would. But I still like there's still a lot of like annoying bullshit about them. Like I think they're fun. They're fun tech. They're fun tech, but they're not this like I don't know, man. They're not this like revolutionary thing. I they don't come off as this like revolutionary thing that I think people like Elon and stuff really want to be. Well, because also too like I don't know, man. I think a lot of these tech guys they don't they act like they can they act like they know like they act like they can predict the future and see what's coming, and it's like I think I think it's becoming more obvious. Like you see it with it's becoming more obvious that the tech people are willing the future they want rather than actually like knowing what's going to happen. They're kind of willing the future into existence cuz like it's like this weird shit where Elon Musk is going on about like this AI stuff's inevitable and it's like you make it. You know what I mean? Like you have the option to stop doing that. It's like this weird shit where it's like you have people out there going on about how AI is going to take over everything and how it's going to be problematic and it might be a weird thing. And it's like you're also the AI company, dickhead. You know what I mean? It's like no, it's not this like fucking spooky future you predicted. It's a spooky future you created because you're an asshole. You know what I mean? So it's like that kind of shit's fucking annoying. I think, like, I don't know, man. I think there needs to be a real like reanalyzation, nationally speaking, on like what we think is fucking smart. Cause like that's what I really learned. I implore everyone. I don't like it's hard to get through, but check out Elon Musk's audio book. I got the audio book, his auto or his biography, I mean. I got the audio book for it. And like the dude clearly had a huge hand in how this was how it would be written and all this other stuff. And it's like, dude, listening to that audiobook, it really I've talked about Elon a bajillion times on here. You guys already know this. But like it really makes you question like how fucking smart the guy actually is. And it makes you kind of like it made me look at successful people in a different way where and this is why I got in an argument with Lemaire about this because people there's a lot of successful people that I'll freely admit are like a net negative on society. Well, I also got into a thing with my wife about this because I might need to like change the phrasing on this. I might need to like change how I put this because my phrasing may kind of my phrasing definitely puts like the wrong connotation I'm setting out into like certain people's brains. but I think I'm right vaguely if you kind of like just ignore sort of the traditional context of what this phrasing is. But like, I think because there's a lot of like really, I mean, I don't like successful is a relative term to me, but successful in the context of like, I got this big company and I made all this money and I have this big impact on the world. Like, successful is a relative term depending on like what you want out of life and shit like that. But like a big thing with, I'll just say powerful people, because like a lot of dudes, like a dude like Elon, you could make an argument is like a net negative on the world. And I don't even mean that from like a political standpoint. It's just like, you know, like all this like this dude has diverted billions of dollars so he can, try to make a rocket work at some point, you know what I mean? So it's like every year there's just billions of dollars that could go to people who actually need it, but Elon Musk gets it for some reason because he wants to recolonize. It's like, you know what I mean? Like an unbelievable level of selfishness where it's like, hey, America could really use that money. And it's like, nope, this fucking where the fuck's he from? This fucking African Elon Musk. You know what I mean? It's just like some dude from another country is gonna come in. Like, god damn it. This is also why I don't like talking about this stuff, because it does genuinely get me so fucking mad because there's so many layers to it. There's so many fucking layers to it with like the Elon Musk shit where it's just like bro's from a different country. He's from South Africa. Made a bunch of money. Made a bunch of money. His family made a bunch of money because they exploited apartheid. Bro comes over here, you know, gets completely infiltrates our politics. And because he saw a couple science fictions movies, he gets a shit ton of government funding to make rockets. You know what I mean? Like America really is we really are just like we're just a piggy bank to be abused by foreigners. You know what I mean? Like that's the shit we saw with the Somali daycare. It's what Israel does. It's what Elon Musk fucking does. It's like everyone with these H-1B visas or whatever the fuck they're called, they get like, they get to have these jobs taken, jobs are taken away from Americans and shit like that. You know what I mean? I really want you to hate foreigners. No, no, no. But like, you know what I'm saying? It's like Elon, you look at Elon Musk, it's like he's a way bigger dickhead than you fucking realize. And it's like there's a lot of people like that who it's like, they have a lot of power and a lot of influence and all this stuff. And we've just been taught that like that's success and this and that. And but then these people become like these, they do a lot of shitty things. A lot of people hate them. And damn, I really got away from the original point. Um, big Slav in the morning. Yeah, yeah, I'm slaving out right now. I mean, we at some point we would need to be a multi-planet species if we want to survive. I guess. But it is just like I don't know, dude. I don't know. It's above my pay grade, I guess. But like there's just something frustrating when like America, everything's too expensive. Everyone's complaining about shitty infrastructure and all this shit, and then you just look up and it's this like South African dude gets billions of dollars every year to make rockets. Like, I don't know, man. There's kind of like something ungodfully selfish about that. Like insanely selfish about that. Like, ugh, I'm gonna try to make this science fiction movie I really like. But also too, like that's the other part of it too. Like science is wrong constantly. And like people they get wowed by a confident dude talking shit. And it's like every time I see him talk, I go, he's not predicting the future. He's just making assertions on things. That's all he does. Go watch his fucking shit. He just gets on stage and makes assertions. And then it's like he'll be like, driverless cars are the future. And then, he gets in the government and he like he gets all this government approval to like test his cars out. And then they do initiatives where they throw in a bunch of um like charging stations everywhere. And it's like, no, this isn't like an organic development of what people fuck with. And it's not to say electric cars would eventually become a thing. It's just they got four. No, here's what really happens is these tech guys get these grandiose ideas and then they sink a shitload of money into it. And then they go like, "Well, I got to make my money back." So they just will their shit into existence because they don't want to lose their initial investment. That's really what it is with this shit. They all like that's why, I mean that's a big thing with this AI stuff where it's like no one fucking likes it, but you see all these AI guys going like, "No, it's the future. It's the future." It's cuz they're trying to like trick you into thinking they're right about shit. It's a constant thing of like don't trust your instincts. You know what I mean? You stupid human being who just wants to like live your life, like don't trust your instincts. These fucking tech billionaires, they're the ones who really know what the fuck's going on. It's like, no, they're not really predicting the future. None of them are actually like none of them are actually like predicting the future. They just and this goes back to like this kind of goes back to the point this kind of goes back to the point I was bringing up earlier in reference to like this thing me and Lemaire were arguing about. And again, I will say maybe I need to find a better phrasing because I brought it up to Lemaire and he kind of like gave me a shitload of pushback. And then I was trying to explain it to my wife, and then she gave me a shitload of pushback. And then I was like, oh. But no, it's this thing of like, it's what I realized with like it's what I realized listening to Elon Musk biography is I go, this guy's not actually that smart, but he works harder than anyone else. And I go, that's why he's number one. He's literally not a single person on this earth believes in themselves more than Elon Musk. And like, because once you stop associating all these attributes of human beings are connected to, we always associate them with like hard work, perseverance. We always associate that with like positive people or good people. And it's like, no, like, it's the same thing. I'm listening to this audiobook about I'm listening to the audiobook of the rise and fall of the Third Reich. And like if you listen to that, like Hitler was kind of a fucking bitch. Like when it came like you listen, like I understand dude was a good orator. Like I've seen those clips where they translate his shit into English using AI. And it's like, yeah, dude could rip a speech. You know what I mean? Like, but if you actually like they have all these passages from like Mein Kampf in it, and they have all these just this shit of like what he said and how he felt about stuff. And the whole time I'm like, oh, this guy's a fucking loser. But like people associate losers with being lazy, and it's like, well, you gotta reassess what a fucking loser is. You know what I mean? Like Lindsey Graham, closeted gay guy. All he wants to ever do is blow up brown people. That guy is a loser might not be enough, but that guy's a fucking loser. He's a piece of shit. You know what I mean? But you're like, but he's a U.S. whatever the fuck he is. He's a senator. And he's a powerful position. No, he must be smart and sick. No, you see it all the time too. Is your manager at work ever the fucking smartest guy? It's like, no, it's the guy that figured, like, in a lot of jobs, your manager is just the guy who figured out the system. He figured out what you're supposed to do to be that guy. You know what I mean? It's not, it's almost, and now it's not to say managers are always incompetent, but you're never shit. Like a lot of times at a lot of jobs, you're never sitting there being like, my manager's the smartest fucking guy here. It's like, no, managers usually just managers are guys who figure out how to become managers. They're rarely ever the most qualified. And it's the same thing. Like, Like, that's what it is. It's like Hitler didn't become. Well, it's the same thing with like Trump. Trump's a fucking dumbass. But like Trump looked at was going on, and then he figured out, what do I need to do to get these people to make me president? And that's what Hitler did. And it's like Elon Musk did the same fucking thing. He's not like, if you really like watch him in interviews and listen to him talk about shit and hear his perspective on like life, and he doesn't come off that impressive. But he's very good at figuring out how to get what he wants. And that's the thing where it's like people fuck themselves up by looking at these like successful people, and because they don't want to feel like they're complimenting them. So they don't want to admit that like Elon Musk worked harder than anyone else. You know what I mean? And it's like Hitler's another example where it's like when they took over fucking France, when they took over Paris or wherever, France. It's like, yeah, they had good strategies, but also their whole crew was methed up to the gills, and they just didn't stop pummeling France for fucking 3 days. You know what I mean? It's like, that's really what it is. Success in the modern constructs of reality is basically get moderately good at something to the point where you can trick people into thinking you're very good at it. Like you just have to get good enough that people who don't know no better think you're really good because you became good at telling them you're really good. And then the other part of it is just work really fucking hard to figure out how to get to your end goal. And if all that matters is that end goal, you'll do whatever to get there. You know what I mean? So Elon is a Nazi. I don't know what his actual beliefs are. I mean, if you look at his family history, you could see Elon sympathizing. I don't know if you're referencing my argument previously on his. I hate defending the guy, but no, when he did the Roman salute, I just remember that I was like, that annoyed me the second I saw it, because I was like, oh, people are gonna get the wrong thing from this. People are gonna treat this like that. That's really where actually that Elon doing the fucking Roman salute is like the best example of where politics get fucked up. And you have good, well-meaning people just completely just getting completely distracted on the wrong thing. So like Elon does that where he's like, I throw my heart out. And it's like, yeah, obviously it looks exactly like a fucking Zig Heil. And it's like you could even argue that it's like, bro, what's going on in your head that's what happens? Like, I get it. But I go, my whole argument was always just like, but tell me that you think Elon Musk is like a sympathetic to the national workers, was it the National Socialist Nazi Party or whatever the fuck? And you're like, no. And then you zoom out and just go like, yeah, he's a dude who just is there for fucking power. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think the salute was like a calculated thing. But anyway, retard dog whistle. Yeah, I don't know, man. I think like that was also the thing I was kind of like pushing back on, is like the dog whistle stuff. Cause like whenever people bring up dog whistles, they always talk about like, they'll be like, there's all these dog whistles. And then like the people who are anti that person, they'll be like, and I notice every single dog whistle. And I go, so, okay, so if he's a Nazi and he's doing Nazi stuff to dog whistle to Nazis, but you can identify that. So they're either you're a Nazi and you can, and that's how, either you're a Nazi and that's how you can read the dog whistles, or they're not dog whistles. And in that case, we have to lean on the side of, this is the most autistic man in the world. You know what I'm saying? We have to lean on like, this guy's just like a fucking weird dumbass in this moment. You know what I mean? Like that's my problem with the term dog whistle. And it's like, That's actually it's like one of my it's one of my main things with whenever I'm talking to Pat about stuff. It's like Pat could benefit from being a little more matter of fact with his terms. And I think generally in politics, because like it happened when we were talking about the suicide shit the other day, and he goes like, because like Pat will do this thing where he'll say a statement where he's like, you shouldn't shame people for committing suicide. And you're like, well, well, shaming them's almost, well, they're already dead. So what the fuck does it matter if you shame them? And then he was talking about how it's like, but then we like, and then I go like, well, wait, what do you mean by that? Because it's like he says that and it just sounds like a weird statement. And then you talk to him more about it, and then you're like, oh. And I think he got to a point where he was like, no, it's just about how, like, when people say they have those feelings, there's some people's response is to, like, get uncomfortable or get aggressive with them. And it's like, that's counterproductive to, like, what would help me with these feelings. And I'm like, oh, I get that. I get that. But, and we've talked about, I'm not trying to shit on Pat. We've talked about this before, but he just, I don't know. He has an odd perspective on suicide where it just needs to be. Well, because he made that statement where he was like, if you have a bad car, you go trade it in. And then I was like, yeah, but like, if you kill yourself, killing yourself's not trading it in. Killing yourself is like, oh, this car's not good. Let me drive it off of a cliff and I'll just sit in the car. And then he's got to go like, well, reincarnation. I go, okay. So I don't know if you're approaching this seriously. You know what I mean? Like obviously I'll freely admit there's part of me that like in my gut I actually do feel like there is some sort of reincarnation. But also too it's like, you know, you want to take that gamble, you know what I mean? Tell that to your family. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like tell that to your family. Like no, it's not that big of a deal that I'm going to kill myself cuz reincarnation is real. And they're like, "Well, how will we find you?" It's like, "You can't." Well, how will you know it's real? I won't know. That's my only thing with the reincarnation shit, where it's like I do actually have I have this weird sense that it is real, but also at the same time, like you're never gonna be able to check. You know what I mean? Because that's like part of the thing. Like reincarnation is just is based off a hunch. You know what I mean? It's that like gut feeling that you can't prove. You know what I'm saying? But no, it's why what was I saying earlier? Why did I bring up Pat to say he was wrong about something 2 weeks ago? Or not wrong, I'm being funny. No, it was I was saying about being people need to be more matter of fact with their terms. Why did I say that? I forget why I brought that up. Oh, dog whistles. Yeah, 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 yeah. Well, it's the real problem with it's honestly like the biggest problem with you get a lot of these people who are very passionate about politics, but they're not willing to be. It's odd, man. You wouldn't see. Well, no, that's not true. You see people doing that with sports all the time. You try to watch some MMA. There's that like fucking guy who's like, "This is pretty gay." And you're like, "Okay, yes." You know what? You know what's super gay is punching other men in the fucking face. Now, jujitsu looks pretty gay, but it's actually badass if you learn it. You can do a lot of damage, but no, there's like a lot of people. I think one of the best examples of this shit is like you guys remember, obviously we all remember Me Too, but you remember the whole like believe all women, and like if you just hear that, and like the second you hear that you go every single one, you're like, oh, so that's like it's a statistically unreasonable statement. But then, like, you're made to feel like an asshole because you pointed out the obvious problem with that statement. They go, believe all women. You're like, every single woman. And you're like, well, not all. So why did you? I remember, dude, I had that exact exchange at an open mic one time because it was like the Me Too shit, and everyone was saying, believe all women. And of course, this dude, comedy sucks so much ass when I started. Because, like, dude, I came up listening to like O and A and all the best comics talking about comedy. And then we started doing it. And like when I started doing the comedy, I don't know if it was the rise, but like they were the most empowered. Just the fucking hall monitor class. They were in full swing when I started comedy. It's why I still get like, I think a lot of people in my era still have this like anxiety about certain things, certain topics and stuff. Cause you got so used to be like, all right, if I talk about this, this person and that person's gonna be a huge fucking bitch about it. But no, like, so this would be a day and age of like, if you were doing a joke and someone didn't agree with they just ignored the fact that you were trying to be funny. If someone just didn't agree with the point you were making, it would just be like, well, I'm a stupid bitch who's not good at comedy. I'll just talk and interrupt his fucking set because I don't agree with his opinion. And you're like, that's what we do. That's what we do in stand-up comedy is we debate, we intensely debate ideas in the middle of my set. But I was doing this one fucking joke, and that was basically the essence of it. It was like it wasn't even like a full joke. It was just me trying to work out a thought, but it was like the believe all women shit. And I remember like some girl fucking yapped up during it, and I was just like asked her, and I was like, it was like believe all women, and I said straight to her face, I was like, all women, and she's like, well, not all women. They go, then why do you call it that? You know what I mean? Like they do that stuff on purpose. Like Scott Horton made if you guys don't know Scott Horton, check him out. Dope foreign policy guy. But he made a great point where it's like you can tell by the way that they name things, they're not like they're not like serious about the results. Like I really do genuinely think a lot of the people on the left, because like I don't know if they do it consciously or subconsciously, they like it's like they're so good at it. Like it's so perfect where it's like if you call something believe all women, like the people on your side are going to be like, yes, exactly, because they're not like matter of fact, precise people. And it's like that's calling it believe all women is the perfect name to get everyone on your side galvanized, but then to also get zero positive movement on the point you're trying to make because the other side is gonna fucking point out obviously that you're like, oh, believe all women is like that's a stupid standard to go about. I always made the joke. I was like, I would get on board with believe most women, but like believe all women is an insane standard to get on. And then you point that out, and then they respond with being cunty about it, and then it turns into just people like fucking yelling at each other because you're being. Oh, is the thing Scott Horton? Oh, of Hearing a Who fame? Yeah, yes, the same. No, Scott Horton made a great point where, well, that's why like, I mean, that's why like Black Lives Matter was the best slogan to make this exact same thing happen. And you could argue where it's like the all lives matter, where the all lives people were kind of having a shitty response. They're kind of missing the bigger point. But also, you like making a vague title like that, you're like at like just it's not attributing good or bad to anything. It's like you're asking for problems with that. Like it's not saying you're wrong for making it that, but it's like for what you want out of this, people are going to see that and respond a certain type of way. It's why it's weird. Like, it's like they get bewildered the way people respond to Black Lives Matter. But if someone put a White Lives Matter shirt on, you completely get why that's fucking like why that's not fun. That's not a good time. And even when the people explain the Black Lives Matter stuff the best way, it still was like, well, okay, so the let me explain to the point Scott Horton made was like because the Black Lives Matter thing, again, it goes back to why it's good to just be very specific with your language, and also on top of that, it's why language is such a good tool. It's why I'm like, I don't know, man. I think you can solve more by changing people's minds because it's like once you sort of turn something into a truth in someone's head, it's hard for them to go against that. Um, but no, like the whole thing of Black Lives Matter was focusing on police violence. So like Scott Horton was like, why don't you just call it something like no justice for killer cops? Because that's a thing that's like hard to argue or hard to misunderstand. Like because that would always be my thing. Like I don't know. Well, that's the problem. Like the problem with conservatives in general is they just like they're obsessed with history, but only history that feels nice. Like they'll see black people complain about stuff, and they'll be like, "Oh, what do you guys got to complain about?" And it'll be like, "I don't know, man. Like all of American history." You know what I mean? It's like you take any year in American history, black people could be like they got a solid they got a solid fucking gripe. You know what I'm saying? So like there is an instinct when it's like, but even then, like me, I see Black Lives Matter, I'd be like, you got to be more specific. You know what I'm saying? Like if your thing is about grievances committed to the black community, unfortunately in America, you're gonna have to be much more specific about that. You know what I mean? So that's why, like, even then, like with the most gracious interpretations of that whole thing, you're like, it would still benefit you to be more specific. And also too, like, why would you want to name something that even if you consider the all lives matter response to be like fucked up? Well, that's the other part too. Like you could hit people with all lives matter as like, well, that's missing the point. You could hit them with that, but then that got misconstrued as like that's why like our politics is so fucking retarded, because we got to a point where people saying Black Lives Matter got people mad, and then for some reason saying all lives matter means you're a racist. And you're like, what are we talking? Like, that's why our politics is so fucking stupid. But no, it's like that is the move though. Well, because the move with like left wing shit is much more like it's a much more nihilistic view on life, and it's probably why, because they use a lot of tactics to like sort of trick and shame you into stuff, because that is realistically when you're calling something Black Lives Matter, you're basically calling it. It's why they call themselves Antifa, and then they basically act like terrorists, because like people can just go, well, I don't like what Antifa did. And you're like, so you're saying so they're called anti-fascist. So you're saying you like fascism? And it just gives like the midwit such an easy argument to like discount you and stuff like that. That's why they call it stuff like that. So it's like if you ever had a complaint about Black Lives Matter, they'd be like, so you think Black lives don't matter? And you're like, no, that's not what you really should have took from what I said. So you can call some, like, that's why that's so fun. These comments are crazy. Um it's a way to go. I like this one, Cellrat. Defund all women. That's the one I'm going. Defund women is hilarious. But yeah, man, that's why it's like I try to be very exact with my speech. Um and stuff like that. But that is a tactic that like political left wing people use. It just drives me so far. Like I'm reminding myself of times I've gotten so fucking angry, because it's just such like an intellectually dishonest fucking thing. And then it's like the people who argue, like I'm picturing like certain type of people who would like use stuff like that, like dude, and like it warps the brains of some of the like I remember during Trump, like I had some friends, one of my buddies who's just like, he's been my friend since fucking high school, and like they just it's like this weird like mind control shit that makes you just like go, okay, I'm gonna forget. I'm gonna put all my trust in this vague voodoo language magic, and I'm just gonna ignore that I've been friends with this guy for I've been friends with him longer than I've been friends with my wife, or I've been friends with him longer than he's been married to his wife. And I remember we're like, and I love this guy to death. I'd fucking jump in front of a bullet. I'm not, because I feel like if the off chance he's listening, he could point himself out. But I'm just using it as an example. I love him to fucking death. He's literally, I'd jump in front of a fucking bullet for the dude. No questions asked. If I come into a room and his wife's all bloody, I go, Where's the fucking cleaning supplies, buddy? How big's your trunk? You know what I'm saying? I'm a good friend. No, I might. Yeah, I don't know if he married. I like his wife. If he married his wife, that'd be bad. But anyway, it's like during the Trump shit. Like I remember during all the Trump shit, it would just be like, because you guys know, like the whole thing they would do is Trump would do a thing. Like Trump would do a thing that was like this retarded. And then their analysis would change it into being this retarded. And then you'd be like, well, no, it's actually this retarded. And then they would go, so you love Donald Trump? So Donald Trump's your favorite guy. So if he walked out and put his cock out on the table, you'd start stroking the shit out of it. And you're like, no, I'm not. Because that's the problem. A lot of people have like binary thinking where it's like, it's like, it's why like I saw it with when people were getting on fucking Daryl, what's his name? Not Daryl Davis. What's the Martyr Maid guy? Derek, are you still in the chat? I feel like you know who Martyr Maid is. Who's Daryl Davis? Is he the black country guy who gets he gets everyone's yeah. He's the black, not country guy. He's the black blues singer that gets everyone's gets all the KKK guys jerseys. Daryl Cooper, thank you. Yeah, when Daryl Cooper was talking about World War II, and they're like, there's pretty clear good guys and bad guys in World War II. And you're like, oh, that's the dude, I love non-binary thinking. I love so much non-binary thinking. Douglas McKay or something like that. No, Daryl Cooper was the one. But no, he said all that shit about World War II. And then people are like, there's very clear good guys and bad guys. Can we please all stop suggesting names? We got it. Just fucking with you guys. What up, Far Wild? Oh man. But Churchill was a bad dude. But yeah, so like Daryl Cooper says all that shit. It kind of goes to like it kind of goes against the traditional ethos of how we look at the world in World War II and stuff. People spaz. And it's like that. The second you start going into these like complex situations and you just go like, there's a clear good guy and bad guy here. It's like, oh, you're going to, it's like you're immediately turning yourself into a NPC. You know what I mean? There's certain, like that is kind of the problem with like modern thought and modern thinking and how people sort of maneuver through the day is, yeah, I'm kind of, damn, I've never been able to like put it in these terms properly before, but it's like that is kind of what the problem is with like modern thought and stuff like that, where it's like that's really because that's what I realized, where if we look at like the traditional sense of intelligence, people just think because you got a lot of shit in there, you're smart. And it's like, no, you might just be autistic. It's easy for people to get a lot of shit up there. It's like, what do you do with that? You know what I mean? What do you do with that? So like you could know every single detail about World War II or any war in general. And just go, you could know every single detail about the war in Iraq. But if you go, there's a very clear good guy and bad guy. The US is the good guy. The Middle East, they're the bad guys. And I go, oh, so it doesn't matter what info you got in there. If that's how you process it, we're getting shit. So it's like, that's why I'm way more about like, how do you process shit? Like I never gave a fuck about what people think. For the most part, you know what I'm saying? For the most part, obviously there's certain things that are deal breakers, but like on the general topics, it's like I never gave a fuck about what people think. I gave a fuck about like what they did or what do you do with that? You know what I mean? Like that was always like my point about like if people find out that you're like anti-abortion, they get like really in a fucking tizzy, which is just very entitled. But it's like, yo, what is my opinion on how is my opinion on this going to affect you in any way? You know what I mean? So it's like people get bent out of shape because you got the wrong fucking opinion. But it's like, yo, what are you gonna do with that shit? You know what I mean? It's like, I don't know. But yeah, that's kind of like because I realized I go like that's really how they like control people. You know what I mean? Yeah, I'm sorry. I was on the verge of a really good point. I got sidetracked. But no, like that is the sorry. This is what happens when I approach a new idea. Um Daniel Carver. No, I was talking about Daniel Cormier and Daniel Cormier's history podcast. Can you guys open your fucking ears? Um I think because they're fearful it will be voted on to remove access. But even that's funny to me because I go like, how many abortions are you guys getting? You know what I mean? Because like they always go to the like rape and incest, which is, and here's my thing. I think abortion is murder, generally speaking. Now, there's people who go people go like, oh, if you have like a freshly cream pied pussy and you scoop that out, like I don't think that's murder. But you guys know what I mean? Like, I'm not too locked in on the science, but I gotta say, once you start hitting 3 months, there really needs to be a no take backsies in your head. You know what I mean? But like, so like, fine, like before, but even like, yeah, I say 3 months, 2 months. I don't know the science to know like when's the best moment to say no take backsies. I'm thinking 2 to 3 months is a good place to start. But my thing with it is like, so if you're under that, that's chill with me. And then like rape and incest. Now I will say this, because everyone's argument against abortion is always like, yeah, but this will inconvenience me. And I go, fair. I'm not disagreeing with that. But like that's on you then to go like, is this inconvenient? Is this inconvenient enough to have a body, on your record? You know what I'm saying? To hit him with the whoop diddy scoop out your pussy. That's like my thing where it's like, because you know me, I think the implementation of like a government force to make sure bitches aren't getting abortions is like a way bigger problem that's gonna that to arise. I don't want that. You have to like to prosecute abortions properly, you have to have this like insane police state. I'm not promoting that. But like what was I saying? Andy is zesty today. Dude, I'm zesty every day. You're getting the raw, real big red, dude. Um, yeah, I like doing these solo streams. I don't know, it's weird. I like doing, you know what it is? Before I do the streams, I'm always like, I don't know what to do. I don't want to do them. I don't know what I'm going to talk about. But I just got to get myself like 10 to 20 minutes in, and then I'm fucking cooking. That's why I like going long. But what was the fucking point I was making with the fucking abortion shit? Oh yeah, it's just abortion's interesting that it's turned into such like the main, like, I guess for me, like the whole abortion thing is like why it's such a, like there's a lot of women have been tricked into thinking it's like the end all be all of like, well, if my candidate's not good on abortion, I'm not gonna vote for them. You know what I mean? Like making it your main issue. Cause they go like, oh, it's women's health care. And it's like, well, that's kind of like demeaning what it is. You know what I mean? And like, but like when people are arguing against it, they'll be like, well, for rape and incest. And you're like, yeah, sure. They can have that one. But I will make, I think like that's a thing where I go like, yeah, let's not get in the business of, let's not get in the business of getting in the way of that. That's not anything anyone wants to do. You know what I mean? Rape and incest, they should be allowed to have. Now, I will say though, because like the people who are against abortion, they never make a point of like, It never seems like they make a good point that like they always have to hit you with like these weird abstract arguments about if the baby's alive or not, and you're like, come on, you're like at like 7 or 8 months, it's definitely alive. I think most reasonable people can agree at 8 months, it's fucking alive. Like if you scoop it out at 8 months, you murdered a baby. So it's just like, just pull it back. And he's like, okay, so 8 months, it's definitely a baby. At 7 months, it's less of a baby, but that wouldn't feel good. 6 months, less of a baby. That also wouldn't feel good though. Five, I personally feel the same way around 4 and 3 months. So then you start going like, is what we scooped out more a baby that it's like that to me then that to me then becomes more of like that's like an ethical argument you gotta live with because I think it's like on par to like you remember that story where the dude he like left his twins in the back of his car and then he just forgot them there and then they died from it being like too hot and shit. I don't know specifically how they died, but like, you're gonna die from being in a hot lock car. And then they're like, you have people talking about like, well, he needs to go to jail. And I go like, honestly, like whatever you're gonna do to him won't matter. Like if he has any bit of a soul, like the way that's gonna, I'll be honest, like I don't think we need to waste money on this guy's jail time. I think he's probably going to kill himself immediately. I can't imagine not. You know what I'm saying? I can't imagine not killing yourself immediately. And I think there's these certain things that like people want these very autistic, very specific. Okay, the point I'm trying to make is like you don't really have to prosecute that guy. That guy is going to be in a deeper hell than any prison cell could create for him. He's already like doing that has already been the biggest punishment of this guy's life. He'll never be the same. He'll like it's the ultimate L to catch. And it's like the same thing with like it's why it's like I don't know, man. That's I think there's a point with things like that where I go, I'm like the fucking dude at work. I go, that ain't part of my job. I go, that's on you guys. You know what I mean? Because I'm not gonna like go out of my way to be like, no, if you got raped, if it's incest, you have to keep. I'm not gonna be that guy. No one wants to be that guy. But at the same time, I go like, just nuts and bolts of the conversation. Like that shit is like I do think that shit's a fucking baby. So like that's on you. That's on you. And I'm not like going to judge you too hard. I can't imagine going through that. Oh, but then the other layer to that conversation is I didn't know this, but like that stuff's like statistically like unbelievable. Like if you look at percentage wise of like who's getting abortions, the whole like the ones that they immediately go to, like the rape and incest ones, it's actually like an crazy small amount. It's like a crazy small amount of them. Forget the exact numbers, but it's like crazy small. So then, and this is the part that I find interesting is they get like these girls, they get these normal girls all worked up in the thing, like it's this big healthcare thing for all women, when in actuality, like most of y'all, this will never affect like the legality of this will never affect your day to day. And it's why I'm saying it's like how it's become the number one thing for most people. It's again why like we're never going to solve anything if we cuz this is how people control us more than anything else is like we've created these mental pathways to process shit that only bring us back to the beginning of fucking ourselves. That's what democracy does. Democracy gives you democracy gives you this beautiful rat wheel to run around in to just do some laps and you're like, yeah, we fucking did it. And then you're like, and then you look around, you're like, wait, I didn't go anywhere. I'm still in this fucking cage. And you're like, yeah, that's what democracy is. It's like we do all this shit. You're like, did that feel good? Did that feel good, everyone? Okay, we're gonna go do all the same shit we did. You know what I mean? We're just gonna go do all the same shit we were doing. And yeah, I know I harp on this a lot. It's way more about how people think about shit than it is anything else. You know what I mean? Like, you could put every fucking this should be good policy in line, but if you don't, I'm trying to think. It's as simple as, I'm good for a good food analogy, boys. But it's as simple as, like, well, I got, it's like, what did they do with the food pyramid a while ago? Or not the food pyramid, but they were saying, like, low fat was the way to go. So then they made everything low fat, and then that made everything high in sugar. So it was like like the process they did to make everything low fat. It like then made, and then everyone was getting like diabetes or something. I think that's how it went. Everyone was getting like a little bit of diabetes, and like it's kind of vaguely similar to that, where everyone was buying all this low fat shit to be like, oh, I'm doing good. This is healthy. I'm being healthy. And then you find out later it's like, no, you're just finding a new way to kill yourself. And like that's what we do with a lot of our thought patterns in the modern era is we're just learning new ways to like hurt ourselves that feel like we're not. We kind of do that a lot. I wish I could abort something. Who are you, fucking Lena Dunham? Um, yeah, and stuff like this too is why, like, I'm not a big fan of like overregulation and putting too many laws on the basis of like, well, this is good and this is right. And it's like, yeah, I don't well, that's the problem is they make these very mat they make these like very matter of fact laws when it is a thing of like, no, it's kind of like a case by case, especially with a lot of the abortion stuff, because that's the other thing. It's like, oh, either you're gonna die or the baby's gonna die. And it's like, it's easy to just go like, well, baby every time, but like, that's up to them, and that's a very nuanced thing, you know. Well, it goes back to everyone wanting this very clear matter of fact sense of right or wrong. And I go, there's a lot of ones that are obvious right or wrongs. Like, I mean, even the obvious ones, like I was about to say, like, don't kill people, but then it's like, I'll stay vague about it, but we all know there's certain people that if they got killed, like there's certain people in our society that the only reason you wouldn't want them to get killed is based off the response of people who fuck with them. But outside of that, like, yeah, there's plenty of people that like if they got I'm not sitting here asking for anyone to get killed. I don't, that's God's decision, not mine. I'm not saying any of that, but there's a long list of people that if they got killed, I'm not gonna pretend like I'd feel anything for them. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, even there, it's like that's the other thing people don't realize is like the vagueness of morality is much more abundant than people want to appreciate. You know what I mean? It's not like I was saying before, there are some like obvious good, like, don't make people slaves is a pretty obvious one. But like you zoom out, like you get into certain areas, there's a lot more moral ambiguity. Yes. I think everyone at Palantir are fantastic. Goods. Yes, all good. Everyone at Palantir is a net positive. All the tech AI guys are a net positive. And everyone who works at government that gives them money and stuff, you're also all net positives. No complaints from Big Red. Um, Vagueness of Reality is a solid book title. Or like that could be an album for like a prog rock band. But yeah, man, I think like I there's a lot people get too locked in on like what right or wrong is. You know what I mean? Like it's much more vague and ever flowing. Again, there's obvious things. like, I think, like, when I watched that Vice documentary and Vice Guide to Travel, and they were talking to that general butt naked, and butt naked was like, "We rip out baby hearts and eat them before we go into battle." I think it's pretty clear. I think it's just a universal truth that that's bad. But even ironically in that, those guys look at that as like, well, it's up for debate. You know what I mean? And but I don't think it's like, oh, just from our higher Western perspective, we figured out that that was we in our opinion think that no, that's just a bad thing. But then it's like Mog Rock. I'm frame Mog rocking you. Um, sorry for anyone at home. I was reading a comment. Um, yeah, I'm gonna title the episode that. By the way, they gave me a good title, "The Vagueness of Reality." Uh, um, here, let me make this last point, then I'm gonna get out of here. But yeah, it's the point I'm trying to make is like people underappreciate the like everyone has their sense of right or wrong, and that's fine. That's good. And I think like existence should be like, well, how do I make my right or wrong fit the best into everyone else's, and how can we sort of because that is also too like we all have our like we all know how we feel about most things, but then when you get out into society, you like immediately have to like compromise on everything and just sort of figure out happy mediums at work and shit like that. Um, and shit, I really want to figure out this point before I get out of here. This is why I like this is why I like doing them solo sometimes because I get to kind of like figure these things out. But I don't want to do this every time because this probably sucks ass to listen to on the re-listen. But I do sometimes need these like because for obvious reasons, if I sort of hit a point like this, Pat's gonna jump in, because he wants to make the podcast sound good, and he's like, "Oh, Andy's having an existential thought." But no, I like these sometimes to give me more time to like work through this stuff because I kind of need this sometimes. I'm not good at like sitting down and writing to work through these things. I'm good at like doing it here. So I appreciate that some of you guys like this. But no, what was the fucking thing I was gonna say? Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, and it kind of goes back to why I fuck with all the libertarian shit. Cause I think like libertarians spent like I think a lot of times in philosophy, people waste their time. Well, it's similar to why like I'll hear people's opinions about ghosts or aliens and stuff, but there's this degree of like we literally have no way of proving this right or wrong. So it's like I'll listen to it, but it's like I don't spend a lot of my time because like I'm more concerned about the stuff that we can definitively prove right or wrong on. And it's just like if there's people working on if there's special machines that'll let you read shit about ghosts, that's one thing. But like most people doing that, it's like, the best you can technically say is like, I'm pretty sure I'm right about this. And I like the libertarian shit because if you listen to it or if you listen to it or you read it and you give them a fair go with what they're saying, it's like, in my opinion, the way that they start from first principles of like, you're a human being existing in the world just by the sheer uh just by your pure existence is proof that like you own yourself, so no one has a right to tell you what to do, but you also no one has a right to infringe on what you want to do. They don't, and also, but also you don't have a right to infringe on them. So you have to figure out this like middle ground where it's like you can kind of do what you want, but you also can't affect other people. And then that's where like that's sort of like the basis of where like the free market forms, where it's like this vagueness of the push and pull of everyone. of like how much of your shit can you do without affecting anyone else's shit negatively, violating their rights essentially. And it's like, let's start from there because that's the fucking shit we can prove. Because like technically speaking, all this like right or wrong shit that's obvious to people is like all of it's way more subjective than people want to admit. So it's like, let's go. Like, I don't like, why don't we ground this in stuff that we can prove? And then that gives a, because that's kind of the thing. Like, it's like the irony of like people who love socialism so much and they hate libertarianism. And it's like, a libertarian society, and they honestly like give the whole thing away of like admitting how it can't work unless you become at least a little bit totalitarian, a little, like, you have to be a little bit fascist for your thing to work. You know what I mean? Because it's like in a libertarian society, you could just do all that shit. You just can't force anyone to do it. And their response is always just like, well, I mean, we can't really do this unless we force everyone to do it. And you're like, yeah, exactly. What were you saying, Salrat? Yeah, but you need someone to talk and help you remember so you can interrupt. Yeah. Pat, well, actually, I got to give Pat props. He used to be fucking horrendous at interrupting me. But like, yeah, he used to be really bad at interrupting me. It would actually get me fucking irritated sometimes because he would talk forever and then I'd start talking and then he'd immediately interrupt me. And I'm like, bro, I'm not doing this just to, I'm not doing this just to be yapped at. I love Pat. But yeah, no, actually, that is fair. I've been doing way more of the interrupting lately because I think Pat chilled out and then I took advantage of that. We would have a better military if we all started over. That's not necessarily wrong. Is it wrong to steal food for a homeless man? We'll see. I mean, that's a great question. That's a great morality play. Because on its what are you saying? You need it sometimes. It gets you back on track. Yeah. No, I accept that these solo ones are for the hardcore guys. The guys who really want to like, they're like, I really need to hear Andy get through this. But yeah, it's better when I'm doing it with Pat. Because then also too, that gives me time to pause. Well, it's like when I do them with Pat, it's less me working out a thought and it's more me just giving my opinion. I like these are more fun for me sometimes. Sometimes I don't feel like getting this introspective because bro, that's how I don't get how people just do just this. I go, bro, I couldn't just be introspective for all the shit I do. I'm just introspective all the time. No way, dude. No heckin' way. I could never. But big but. I don't know. Oh yeah, Pat does help me get back on track. Yeah. Sorry. I'm all talked out. Boys. This was very fun. This was very good. Pat should be back on Friday. Oh yeah, he was I don't even think I mentioned why he was out today. He had a friend visiting and they wanted to do some shit before he left today and I was like, that sounds like a great idea. And then Pat will be back on Friday. And I think that'll be fucking good. This has been good. This has been great. I want to embrace stuff like this more because I think I'm in like a much better headspace to do all this kind of shit properly now. I think for the longest time I was just so like I just gave so much of a fuck about the wrong shit, and now I don't. And now I think I'm in like, oh man, I think I'm in like a primo position to be like top tier podcaster now. It was a long battle, but I think we're getting there. Hey mate, how's your day going? End of the pod. Go back and listen and find out. Loser. Just kidding. I love you, Duck Mark M04. Dice Gay, have a nice day to you. Dunbar, peace, y'all. Love you guys. I'll be back. Well, I'll be streaming. We'll be streaming again Friday, but I'm gonna be doing more content. Definitely some Magic the Gathering content. But you guys know me. It's gonna also be just a hell of me talking. All right, I love you guys. Bye.